Rebellions are built on hope.
And welcome to another episode of Radio Rebellion Star Wars Podcast. I am your host, Alberto Calderon, and thank you for joining us today on this Star Wars Saturday as we get ready to talk Ahsoka. One more episode. We're almost there at the finale of Season 1. We're getting at Season 2. Will all this be followed up in the movie? Mando Season 4? Who knows? But we'll get around that in a minute. Thank you guys for being here joining us. As you know, at least as you can see, just me today. Oti's busy with work, I guess. He's going out. He's on a flight. I don't know where he is. He's somewhere around. Hopefully he's not in another galaxy trying to reach Peridia. But he'll be back here next week as we do our review of Ahsoka finale next week. And we'll see. From there, I don't know if we'll take a week off. If Oti has finished reading Tales of Light and Life, we'll do a review of that. Or maybe we'll do a whole recap of Ahsoka Season 1. I don't know. Just wait till next week and we'll figure that out. But thanks for joining us today. Of course, if it's your first time joining us, thanks for being here. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and that you hit that like button and comment down below if you're watching this later on the replay. And also if you're listening to this later on the audio podcast when it drops later this week on Monday, leave us a rating, a review, 5 stars if possible. We'll take 4 stars, even 3, even lower. I don't know. Hopefully we're not that bad. You need to give us a 1 or 2 stars. And by that, don't even do it. Just keep scrolling. But give us a review, rating. Let us know. Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, Goodreads, Good Pods. Everywhere where you might find your podcast will be there. All right, before we start, I see someone's out there. Our friend Tony, Tony's Collection. How you doing, Tony? Thanks for joining us. You probably know where Ot is, but hello, fan. Hope you're all doing well. We are doing fine, Tony, up here. Down here. I know you're up there, right, Chicago or something. There's a lot of storms in the Northeast this week. We saw those videos from New York. Everything's flooded. So if you guys are out there, just stay safe. We're still in the middle of hurricane season. I know it's almost October. It'll be October tomorrow. We'll all think about fall. But storm season is still brewing. So you never know what might happen. And then all this snow for you guys up there. But thanks for being here, Tony. Taking the day to join us today. We'll start, as you see down there. We still have our little crawl going for the writer strike and the actor strike for SAG and WGA. But good news, the writer strike, or the writers, came into agreement with the studios, and it seems that their strike is over. Writers will be back next week doing their stuff, so congratulations to them for holding out and getting everything that they needed and they deserve. We'll keep that scrolling down there for the immediate future. We still have the actor strike going on with SAG. Hopefully they'll get a good deal also, because we need it, or they need it, I should say. And we'll keep in solidarity with them as we keep talking about this universe that we love so much, with their pew-pews and their vroom-vroom and beep-beep. And we got some sassy, angry droids this week. All right, so we're going to get into that. And I think that's it. I think we're ready to go ahead. So if you guys are ready, I'm not ready. Let's talk Star Wars. And of course, it's Star Wars on TV.
Star Wars on TV.
Ahsoka Tano! Ahsoka Tano! There we go. We get our little Alti feel right there. All right, so we had Ahsoka episode 7. This is the penultimate episode. This is the last episode before the finale. And I'm going to preface by saying this. People might think that I hated this episode, and I didn't. There's a lot of things that I wish they did different. I'm going to highlight those as we do our talk today. But in general, I really like this episode. It was a good episode. It was a solid episode. Even an episode that we needed after those 2 emotional, heavy, impactful episodes that we had previous 2 weeks, with the War Between Worlds, seeing Anakin again, that Clone Wars flashback. And then, of course, this past episode, not this one, the episode from last week, when we finally found Ezra. Thrawn came in, and we talked how much we love that episode. Might be our favorite episode of Star Wars television so far. So we needed something to, I don't want to say pump the brakes, But we needed a break. We talked about this before. That Tony, I might have some hot takes. So we'll see. We'll see. And we talked about this before, probably with Mando or maybe with Andor. I don't know. That after heavy hitting episode, very action filled or emotional episode, the next one you need to bring it back down. We talked about I listen to heavy metal and to hard rock. You can just have Enter Sandman and Master of Puppets back to back. You need a Nothing Else Matters, Fade to Black to kind of bring everything down, collect your thoughts. Even those are very emotional songs, but then get back into it, which I think this episode was. I don't know if the placement worked, and I'll probably talk about that more at the end, but I'm actually just going to mention it now. This didn't feel like it wasn't a setup for the finale. I don't feel like, okay, here we go. Next week is going to be this impactful episode. We got all these threads pulling around. We still don't know. We don't know what Balan's plan is. We know that Thrawn is filling up his Star Destroyer. How are they getting back? Ezra doesn't even know what the hell is going on. So it still didn't feel like a finale. And I'll probably repeat this at the end, but it feels like Filoni wrote this season like it was going to be like a 10-episode season instead of 8. Like we still had like 2 more episodes to go before the finale, or at least 1 more to set everything up, and then the finale. It doesn't feel like, man, this left us ready for that finale. It's like, okay, it was a good episode, but what's going on? Where are we going? And again, Otis not here, so I'm gonna be throwing some Star Trek comparisons in a minute, especially for that setup from the penultimate episode to the final episode of a season. I'll mention that in a little bit. But before we get into that, so the episode starts with Hera's trial, which was good. A few weeks ago, Oti mentioned that they were repeating some beats with Sabine, that she kind of went away from what she told Ahsoka she was going to do. She took the orb to her place, then she lost it, and all that happened. And then in episode 4, I guess, when she's not supposed to give them the orb, she's going to destroy it, and she goes again what she told Ahsoka she was going to do. So they're repeating those beats. So Hera's quote-unquote trial, more a hearing, I guess it was. To me, even though it was entertaining, of course, because Siono's being a jerk, and we'll keep it PG for today. It was being a jerk, and Hera just throwing everything back in her face, like, no, I didn't disobey or direct orders. I just disobeyed you. And everyone's kind of, ooh, snap. It's the same thing that happened when they had the conversation back in episode 3. Is he saying that they don't need that? And she just rebuked him, kind of, oh, did you ever fight in the war? Are you just waiting to see which side came up on top? So it seemed like the same beats. And I had the same issues. Or I'm going to say, so this trial, it wasn't too long. So it didn't take a lot of the episode runtime. I kind of wish maybe it was even shorter. We didn't to see the same beats over and over. Maybe Hera coming out from the courtroom, whatever you want to call it, and kind of, it was great to get that message from Leia kind of last minute, and then C-3PO shows up, or something quick to just get us moving. But then probably I would be complaining, we needed more time to kind of revisit all that. So my first Star Trek kind of comparison is season 2 of Strange New Worlds. Episode 2 is Una Chin Riley's, the number 1, her trial for similar things, kind of court-martial. This is a whole episode. And I'll say it's not my favorite episode of the season, so I'm not going to say that Star Wars needed to do a whole episode on Hera's trial. That will be a no-no. But what that episode did right, that I've see myself coming back to this episode in Star Wars, and then in episode 3 when again Hera's addressing the New Republic, is that we don't see both sides of it, right? When on Star Trek, when they were doing this, we saw the reason why what she was doing was wrong and the reason why it was right, and there were whatever, people kind of defending her, other people saying why what she was doing was wrong, all this evidence. Again, we didn't need all this. We had Carson Teva kind of step up and say, hey, what about the Battle of Mandalore where all this happened? And also, I don't. It's like Siono's the only one that cares about this, right? No one else there cares. Mon Mothma doesn't care. The other senators don't care about this trial. They understand. Either they understand the severity of the issue of Thrawn coming back, or they just don't care because it's okay. Hera went and this other thing. So why is even Siono given so much power to do this hearing? He asked a question, then he's. I don't know. He didn't like her answer. She's like his. Objection. Can you be judge, jury, lawyer, everything at the same time, Siono? So anyway, I didn't love the trial. I did, of course, like when Chopper was ready to jump the the bleachers and beat his ass up. When it's this mere droid. What? I'm ready. Of course, I had to keep him back. So I did enjoy that, but again, it just played for the same kind of jokes that first time. That Siono is this guy that we just don't like, and then Hera's just gonna kind of mouth off on him. And I would appreciate, I don't know if appreciate is the right word, but if when they have that back and forth and they're arguing, that someone else in the Senate, in that little committee, even Mothman, if people want to say, well, she has to be impartial, okay, there's only 3 senators, to kind of step up and say, okay, guys, you gotta stop with that bickering, let's get into what actually is going on. But anyway, then we get C-3PO, which, what do you guys think about C-3PO? You like that little cameo? Is it just, okay, we just need to get these legacy characters back? I didn't mind it. I understand why they can't use Leia. Do we even need the Leia callback or name drop? I'm not so sure. But it worked for what it needed to be. I'm kind of surprised that Siono, for everything that he's arguing, he didn't even bother to look at the message. So it's kind of, yeah, whatever. There's a message, then I won't say anything. And yes, dude, you've been complaining. Look at the message. It could be just Leia's lunch order for later today, for all he knows. But whatever. So it was fine. Everyone walks out. Mon Mothma's like, yeah, I know this isn't happening, but do you really think that Thrawn's coming back? And of course, she's like, oh, we got to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Which is, I guess, what we need to prepare ourselves for the finale, right? Whew, sorry, man. I guess it's hot over here. I know we're almost at October, but I'm burning down here. I got my ceiling fan going on. It's still hot. So we got Ahsoka reaching the new galaxy. She finally reached Peridia. I love being back in the hyperspace with the whales, the whole rainbow colors going around, the way the whales look. One thing you cannot knock this show on is the special effects. I think the CGI and the special effects, especially the last 3 episodes, have been as good as anything you will see out in television, even the Star Wars movie. I love the whales coming out of hyperspace. I love when Ahsoka's like, oh, we gotta get out there because she knows they're getting bombarded, and the star whale kind of opens its mouth, they fly out, and just everything happening around them looks great. The whales look great. I don't know where they got a million space mines to put around. I didn't know that Morgan Elsbeth brought that with her in the Eye of Sion. It was kind of weird, but it worked. She goes to hide, and this is when we start seeing Thrawn being Thrawn, right? Playing the mind games, kind of, yeah, let's follow her into the debris field. All right, let's pull back. We don't need to waste our resources. Hey, night mothers or great mothers, I need your help. Tell me where she's at. And she's there. All right, start attacking again. And then when she goes out after she kind of senses where Sabine is, then they start following. And let's just let her land. We don't need to do this, as long as we're not her target. She's trying to find Sabine, and that's good for us right now. So again, we start seeing how Thrawn is using those mind games, and it works great by the end of this episode, when, I'll probably repeat it then, but when Morgan Elsbeth is like, but all I see is our enemies are back together. Can you see that this is a win? Well, dude, she's not attacking us, all right? She's wasting time. We're filling up our trunk space is almost full, and then we're gonna leave this hellscape here, and we don't have to care. So the longer she stays over there, the easier it will be for us. So again, Thrawn knows what he's doing. For me, the MVPs of these episodes, apart from Thrawn or the Noti, I really love the Noti in this episode, and Ezra. And let's start talking about those two plus Sabine. So Sabine, Ezra, and the Noti, they're kind of just cruising around in their little roaming wheels home, kind of, they're the Harfoots of this universe. They're just roaming, talking a little bit. I love Ezra's and Sabine's banter, especially when Sabine mentioned that she was getting trained by Ahsoka. He's like, really? Why are you training? Well, actually, no, yeah, no, don't worry. So, yeah, you were training a little bit when I was doing my own stuff. So I love that little banter, especially a little bit later on when Shin comes into the picture. Man, I gotta say, Emanes Fandi as Ezra might be my favorite character. I know Thrawn is there with... Uh, he's great. I love Balan, of course, but what he's done in these two episodes, that's Ezra for me 100%. I've had some issues, not issues, that's not though. It took me a little bit to get into, okay, this is Hera from Rebels. Okay, this is Sabine from Rebels. Ahsoka we've seen for a little bit now, so I kind of know what to expect. But Ezra, as soon as he showed up on screen 2 episodes ago, and then everything that he's doing, acting, portraying Ezra is just what I would believe that Ezra is in this time period right now. So he's just knocking out the park, very quickly becoming one of my favorites in the show. So I can't wait for this episode, and again for the movie when it comes out, season 2, season 4. Man, whenever we see them again, you're right, Tony. The banter was spot on the whole episode. Even I didn't mention it before, but Ahsoka and Hu Yang in that beginning was great when they're having that little argument and Ahsoka's kind of leading him on. Well, you never say that. Yes, I did. And then she's just kind of laughing. And of course, when she's going to go into the planet, let's try that maneuver that we tried before. And, how do you even know that we're going to show up in the same galaxy, in the same planet? Oh, I don't know. I just hope. And Hu Yang's like, well, statistically, it's almost impossible. But I want you to be right. I feel that sometimes, like, it's not going to happen. I wish it's going to happen. It's going to be very, very difficult. But the banter between those, Hu Yang and Ahsoka was great. And then Ezra and Sabine. So here we start. They find them. So Balan and Shin see them from a distance. And we'll go into the little discussion in a few minutes. But it's basically, okay, tell Thrawn that we found them. And let's go kill them, or actually, you go kill them. I got to do something else. And I'll get into that conversation in a minute. We get all these warg riders, right? And they go to... Actually, before we get into that, because as much as I love the banter between Ezra and Sabine, and this is not a Star Wars problem. This is a problem in all TV shows and all movies. If people would just say what they needed to say, like you would do in regular life, things will move a little bit easier. And maybe the story moves a little bit quicker and people will act like they will actually act. Ezra's like, okay, so how did you get here? Oh, it's complicated. Don't worry about it. Okay, how are we getting out? We'll talk about that later. Also, Ahsoka's training you. Oh, is she coming? It's complicated. It's like, they've been together now for 2 days. He doesn't know how she got there, how they're getting out, how does Ahsoka play into this? Then later at the end, Ahsoka almost died. But that's fine because that just happened. But those conversations need to happen. You need to be talking to the person that you spent 10 years finding or looking, hoping that you would find. You finally found them. And I know it's not a conversation that you want to have, but there's nothing more important. It's like when you're watching a TV show and there's something very important one character needs to tell the other, there's no time for this. There's time. You can run and talk at the same time. You can write the Noti and say, well, actually, I don't know how we're getting out because I had to follow those 2 guys that are not with me to this new galaxy, but we'll figure it out. Or let's start. There has to be something. Now, what my concern is, and again, I'll mention this later on, is that we're piling too much into the finale. That is just going to fall flat because it just gets resolved very easily or very quickly. Or my fear is that nothing gets resolved, and I'll get to that at the end. Whew. Hey, Mo. How are you doing, Mo? Hola, prima. Thanks for joining us today. Let us know. Both you and Tony, let me know your general thoughts on this episode. Or, again, like you always do, we'll keep up with the chat. So that's my only thing. It's people need to communicate. And it's very easy for Sabine and Ezra to kind of... This is the second time that we've seen on screen of he kind of asking, how are we getting out of here? How did you get here? And there's always an excuse. But anyway, the finale is coming. So we get the warg riders, or I should say the howlers, all those bandits in the howlers. which I'll say is a great kind of look. I think Filoni is actually, this is actually his, not application, his, oh man, I can't believe I forgot my words as always. Oh, there we go. Filoni is auditioning. So I should say, I think Filoni is auditioning to write and direct the next season of Rings of Power. And this is his backdoor pilot for it, because this is Middle Earth. This new galaxy is just Middle Earth from top to bottom. They're in the Helm's Deep Pass. We saw Minas Tirith last week. We have the Warg Riders with all those bandits riding the Howlers. The witches in the castles, the Noti, which are just the Harfoots. This is Middle Earth, and I won't complain because Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite things. But if you're gonna copy it, change it a little bit, right? Yes, Mo is one. We mentioned it. Eman is perfect at Ezra. As soon as he comes, that's Ezra. Every word that comes out of his mouth is Ezra. All right, so I love, and another nod to Lord of the Rings is when the Noti, again with the slingshot, of course, Ezra had to show them how to use a slingshot, throws the rock, and I love that the guy didn't fall down. He just kind of bounced, and he's like, uh-oh, and just hides. I loved it. I love the Noti this whole episode. Then later on, they hit someone with a frying pan or with a casserole. I don't know what that was, but it worked for me. The Noti are these, not Joe, they're kind of the comic relief, not too on the nose, but it works. They're good. The Ancelans from Mandalorian, the Noti are the same for here. I would love the Noti and Ancelans to meet. That would be a very funny interaction. The freaking dumb howler. Like Sabine's, another thing that I love when Ezra cannot ask Sabine when they see Balin and Shin. He's like, oh, are they with you? No. Lightsabers, yes. And I think that's later. And then when they surrounded us, we're not gonna leave anyone behind. Let's go and do this. And when they're walking out, the Noti's there, and then the big face of Sabine's howler kind of just reminded me of my big dumb Enfys dog. He's just there, just trying to survive. I hope he makes it out. I hope he meets the Lotcat on Lothal. It was pretty interesting. All right, before we keep going with some of the actions, so Tony's saying, I guess I missed that comment from Mo. I agree with Mo, really cool stuff. Love the dialogue in the episode. It was shot very well. I agree with you on the VFX and where it does seem like it doesn't seem like a pre-finale. I think we're on the same page. Mo had said, episode was cool, a lot of build-up. Curious to see how they wrapped it up. And we'll spend more time on that at the end. But yeah, that's how is this going to end? Again, for Mo, you weren't here when we started. Good episode, solid episode. It just didn't feel like we're ready for the finale. And that's where I kind of hung up a little bit. It's like, really, we needed something to start setting up the finale. But as we always say, let's trust in Filoni and how everything wraps up. So it was a cool chase. It reminded me, because I was watching earlier today, actually, those wildlife documentaries of some wild dogs chasing this pack of water buffalo, which of course they're not going to be able to get, but just seeing all of the wild dogs chasing this big pack of buffalo down the savannah and then trying to single out one of the small ones reminded me of this chasing. All those big kind of roly-poly ships that the Noti have going down the road or down that big plains, and then you have all the howlers and the bandits on the howlers chasing them, trying to single them out. It was very kind of wildlife chase. So I did enjoy that. All right, let's say hi to our friend, Mr. Spaxwald. Thanks for being here. Ezra was so good that all my worries about transitioning from animation fell away. I think Eman's casting is my favorite of the show, only second to Ray Stevenson. I think I'm right there with you, Mr. Spaxwald. It's great. It's amazing how many little scenes he had, because last week he was on screen for maybe 3 minutes. Boom, that's Ezra as soon as he opened his mouth. And this week, even though he was featured prominently, there weren't a lot of kind of actual like 10-15 minute scenes, but it just feels like Ezra. The casting in general, the casting has been great, but those two have been just spot on. So anyway, so let's talk about Balin and Shin before we come back to that fight when Shin arrives. Well, I'm very surprised that Balin cats Shin aside. I know people are making comparisons to when he's talking with Sabine in episode 4 that your master left you, cast you aside, didn't finish your training, and people are saying, is he doing the same thing now to Shin? I don't think it's the same because if Ahsoka abandoned Sabine during her training, it's one thing. He's not abandoning her. He's saying, okay, basically you're training as far as I can train you. Now you have to. This is your Jedi trials. Basically, you have to go kill Ezra and Sabine. That's where your passion leads. Mine leads somewhere else. So he goes to say your ambition drives you in one direction. My path lies in another. And he's talking about, oh, go and you'll join this new empire. You gotta go kill them, and I gotta go to whatever's calling me over there that I've been chasing for whatever in this galaxy. So it did seem that they were going to diverge. I didn't think it was going to happen, especially on an episode like this. So I was surprised by it. I'm also surprised that he didn't just go and do it or go follow what his passion was. He just stayed there to see how everything played out. And of course, this is when Ahsoka comes in. So we'll come into that in a minute. Then, of course, his final kind of parting lessons are impatience for victory will guarantee defeat. And if this foreshadowing his own demise for Bela, maybe he's too focused, excuse me, too focused on his victory, either defeating Ahsoka or getting to what his end goal is, that he's impatient to get to that last step and gets beaten or defeated right before it, just because he thinks that he's got it when he's not. So it might be a little bit of foreshadowing, but we'll see. Shin. We talked about this last week. Where's her mentality at? She was, the first half of the season, she was very gung-ho in stopping Ezra, or stopping Sabine, I should say, killing everyone. And we saw last week that when Thrawn said, okay, follow them and kill them once she finds Ezra, she's like, are we really going to go back on our word? You gave her your word that we were not gonna kill him. Baylor said, oh, we told her that they can find Ezra and we're letting her find Ezra, and then we'll go ahead and kill them. And she didn't seem to be on board. She didn't seem to be on board when she asked him, well, you're not helping. And that's when he said our paths lie in different directions. I don't know where she's at. And when she battles Ahsoka, she doesn't battle Ahsoka. When that scene when Ahsoka is like, drop your weapon, come with me, I can help you. I like that she didn't go with Ahsoka at that point, but I think we're getting there. And I think I mentioned it last week. It would be cool if Ezra finishes Sabine's training or helps her reach that point where she can access the Force. It would be great if it comes from Ezra. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point this season, I don't know if next week's episode is close enough, maybe in the movie or whatever comes after this that has these characters again, that Shin kind of gives up this dark side path and decides to follow Ahsoka, and then Ahsoka wants another shot at training a Padawan and take Shin under her wing. I wouldn't be surprised, and that would be a good send-off for both characters, or maybe not send-off, a way to continue that story. Kind of Ahsoka realizing that maybe she wasn't the best master for Sabine, and now Ezra's here to help kind of finish that path that she started her on. But she might be ready now that she's kind of done with all the guilt and everything she had with Anakin. Now she can move forward with a new apprentice. And we know about she's been training the dark side. So can I say that she hasn't fallen to the dark side. She's maybe has some dark side thoughts, thinking that she might fall into the dark side same as Anakin. She knows about Anakin and how he fell. So that might help bring Shin down a little bit. So I wouldn't mind seeing that a little bit later on. But first, Shin arrives after she kind of calls Thrawn. I love also talking about visuals. I love the way the enemy, let's just call them the enemy, they're not Darksiders or the Empire. They're holograms, because they're not just blue kind of holograms that show up. It's just this, it just pops up out of nowhere. I don't know if it's dark side magic from the Night Mothers or whatever. I just love every time that Enoch showed up when the first few episodes when Balin and Shin would be kind of just appear in the Eye of Sign, just or that green stuff. Just visually looks great. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, that it was good. We've already seen him last 2 episodes or 2 episodes ago, the training that Anakin left Ahsoka. It's good for her to see it. She has 20 other tapes that Anakin left, so I guess it was cool to see. Wasn't of course as impactful as seeing him in full on in that episode 5. It was good that he was there. Nothing too emotional for me. Where am I? All right, so going back to Sabine, Ezra, and the Noti, Shin gets there. The other night troopers get there in the trooper carrier, whatever it's called, which looks great. Same design from Rebels, looks great in live action. They brought like 40 stormtroopers in there, and of course we get the scene that everyone's talking about about Sabine trying to give him the lightsaber. It's like, no, no, I don't. I gave it to you. That's yours now. Very similar to what people keep saying that, oh, Rey's lightsaber is not Rey's lightsaber. That's Luke's lightsaber. That's Anakin. No, as soon as someone gives it to you, it's like, I gave that to you. That's your lightsaber now. The Force is my ally, and that's all I need. Clap, clap, clap. I love that scene. I thought he was going to be, no, no, I'm a pacifist, just like the Noti. He's like, no, no, the Force is my ally. Which, again, he probably hasn't used a lightsaber in about 10 years, so he might be a bit rusty. But I love seeing Ezra use the Force. Of course, he grabbed a blaster. 30 seconds later, started shooting all the stormtroopers, so it's not just a Force. It's whatever's available, so you don't die. Well, that was fine. I love the design of the night troopers. They're just as bad as regular stormtroopers, of course, because they have them surrounded and they couldn't get a shot off. But it was good. Oh, talking about banter. Ezra talking his way out of getting shot. Very Han Solo like. But when they're surrounded and Shin's like, let's shoot them, he's like, wait. Or instead of shooting, we can talk. Yeah, we can talk. And then just shoot them anyway. But again, that's why a man is so perfect as Ezra. And that felt like Ezra. I'll give Filoni props that the writing feels like Ezra. But just the way he's like, no, let's talk about this. Feels like something that Ezra would do, and it worked perfect. We haven't talked about Ahsoka and Baylan. I had it down on my notes. So Ahsoka drops from the ship. Hu Yang keeps flying out, taking the other fighters with him. And I'll say, for as good a lightsaber fight that it was unnecessary. And this is where people are going to say I'm just a hater. That's fine. Tell me I'm a hater. But it wasn't needed. She didn't want to fight Baylan. Baylan didn't want to fight her. She could have landed any other way that wasn't in his way. He should have been going to what his plan is. So they fought for a little bit. He's kind of, yeah, you can't defeat me. She's like, yeah, I don't want to defeat you anyway. I'm just causing a distraction so I can steal your howler. And then she goes off running. He doesn't follow her. So I don't know the point of that lightsaber fight. I'm sorry. That's just, if we want this to feel more like what the finale or what we're leading to in the finale, that lightsaber fight was very cool looking fight. I love that Ahsoka had her 2 lightsabers out, so that we knew that she meant business. And Baylan was there to defend himself, but it had no weight. Like, there was no consequence to this fight. So I don't know. I could have done without it and saved the rematch for a more emotionally impactful fight in the finale or later on. And we'll see how that goes. But Ahsoka gets there, saves the day when Shin and the stormtroopers are going to kill everyone. And then we had that scene when she tells Shin to kind of drop her weapon and come with her. And she kind of, sure, I'm just going to get the hell out. Gets back on her howler, leaves. Oh, sorry. I need some water. It's been 33 minutes. I need a drink. What do you guys think Shin is going to do? Is she going back to find Baylan? Is she going to Thrawn? Or is she just now going to be by herself, kind of this wanderer, and eventually she will run back into Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra, and all those guys, and we'll figure something out at that point. I don't see her going back to Baylan because he kind of set her on this path. She can go back to Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth. That's, I think, is where she's going. I don't know how she'll be received, because when Thrawn noticed that we are 1 mercenary short, where is Baylan's call, I think he's done with Force users. So I don't think he's going to welcome her. I might just, hey, I'm leaving. I don't care. Already said that the mercenaries can stay here for all I care. And then she's going to be out on her own. And that's maybe when she kind of rethinks her position in this war that she's not a pawn, but she might not know everything that's been going on. So again, it's going to be interesting to see where she falls at the end of all of this. I love because I had my issues a little bit with Ezra's and Sabine's reunion last week. I love this one between Ahsoka and Sabine. I love that with Ezra and Ahsoka. When Sabine is, oh, I thought you were dead. And I thought you died. It's like, I missed this, and goes to that big hug to Ezra. I love that. I love that they didn't wait 2 minutes and just going back and forth between. They had that embrace. So I love that. And of course, then he had, wait, you thought she was dead? And then the ship comes down. It's like, I'm getting a good feeling. I think I'm going home. And they're knocking on that. I'm going home. And he still doesn't know what's going on. So this is where the finale is going to be important. All right, Mr. Spazwell, you're saying that you agree with the Baylan fight. Strangely empty apart from Baylan pausing after the fight, battling with himself, maybe knowing that Shin was going to lose with Ahsoka in the battle. I'm going to say, I don't know what Baylan thought sending Shin to fight both Sabine and Ezra. She really didn't beat Sabine the second time that they fought. The first time, yes, obviously, lightsaber through the gut. There was a lot of talk on the internet about that. But the second battle, she ran. As soon as Ahsoka killed Marok, she threw down the smoke bomb and just ran away. So I don't know why he thought she was going to be able to defeat both Sabine and Ezra. But of course, when Ahsoka got there, I'm sure he's like, oh crap, I sent her to her death because she's not gonna make it out. So again, it's gonna be interesting. Maybe he welcomes her back, or she tries. I don't know. That I don't see her going back to Baylan, but we'll see next week. So Thrawn's plan. We talked a little bit about this when we started, about first his reaction to Anakin. We knew it was coming. I have my book back there, which is Thrawn Alliance. It's back there. They're in the cover. We know that Thrawn knows who Anakin is, who's Darth Vader. So now, General. And I love that he doesn't say, oh, Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Anakin. No, General Anakin Skywalker was a master. All right, I gotta think a little bit, because if she's anything like her master, we gotta be careful. So I call this an absolute win, right? He's like Hulk in Endgame. I call this an absolute win. She's not attacking us. She's over there. Acceptable losses. I'll send some ships to follow her. We'll put her on a path that we want to. So just keep her away from me so I can do my little thing over here. So it's like a parent. Okay, kids, go play with the dogs and just leave me alone for 5 minutes so I can relax. That was Thrawn. Just keep her away so I can. You think we're losing? No, look. Let me get my iPad out. Let me get my phone out. I cannot show you what's going on. While they're fighting over there, losing time, which we know, Coach from Rogue One, you made time an ally of the rebellion. So this is the other. She's wasting time over there, which she doesn't have, because we're going to leave her. And we're almost at 80% capacity here. So I call this a win-win. So I love Thrawn, how little by little we're showing that's his mentality. That's how he wins, right? It's not overpowering with forces. He's using his intellect. So I did enjoy that. All right, so this is where let's kind of finish this up now. I want to think your guys' thought as we're heading to the finale. Some of your speculation, what you think might happen in the finale. Has this been a good setup for the finale? So there's been a lot of setup these past few weeks, especially with Baylan's ultimate plan that hopefully delivers in the finale. And this is my second Star Trek comparison. So I talked about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm going to talk now about Star Trek Discovery. So I just finished this last week. Also, as Ahsoka was going on, Star Trek Discovery Season 4. That's the last season that's out at the moment. I think Season 5 is coming soon. So I watched the last 2 episodes around the same time I watched the Ahsoka finale. The penultimate episode is my favorite episode of Discovery Season 4. And I'll say Season 4 of Discovery is not my favorite season. Ahsoka is a lot better. I prefer Ahsoka over Star Trek Discovery. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I like Star Trek more than Ahsoka. Sorry. Noti, don't come back and fight with me when you're here. But that penultimate episode was basically almost felt like a finale, but it was a great leading to what the finale was going to be. Everything that had been set up for the past 8 weeks coming to episode 9 and then episode 10, again, great thing that you have these longer seasons. Everything kind of boiled down to that penultimate episode, and then it pushed it to the finale. This didn't seem like it was doing it. Episode 6, when we find Thrawn, we found Ezra, that's what this season has been about, finding both of them, built into that. And then let's go into the finale, into the penultimate episode to see how we start unraveling all this. Didn't come into fruition. So now the finale is like, there's nothing set up. We don't know what Balin's plan is. We don't know what the hell. We know that Thrawn wants to get out of here, but we don't know what he's doing with the Great Mothers, what he's putting that in those compartments. We don't know how they're getting out. There's nothing set up. That's why I say it looks like this should be a 10-episode season. And I've been saying for years like how I don't like long seasons. I don't like series that go for 4, 5, 6 seasons. I like series that have like every season's 8 to 10 episodes. I have in mind Mandalorian being 8 episodes, but I think it needs more. Now that I've been watching all these other shows, Rings of Power, House of the Dragons, all these Star Trek ones, all of them are at least 10 episodes. Discovery is between 13 and 15 episodes. Maybe we don't need that many, but it feels like we're rushing to the finale. Like there still needs something else between this week episode, something now, and then the finale. It kind of feels like something's missing. And that's my biggest issue with this episode, the story structure. Wasn't the biggest fan of the way the trial was handled. And then how we're going into the finale doesn't seem like we're there. It's like this should have been episode 6, and then episode 7 be something else, and then 8 the finale. Like we're missing something between these 2 episodes. That's my biggest complaint. And I know, and all these ears are probably ringing right now. Chris mentioned here before, like there's a movie coming out. Not everything that's being set up is gonna be resolved by the end of next week. And I 100% agree. We know that Thrawn isn't going to be defeated. I don't think that any of our heroes are dying next week or even by the movie. I don't think Ezra. I know people are saying, oh, is Ezra going to die next week? There's no way Ezra's dying this week, next week, 3 years from now. We didn't find him just to listen. This is in the High Republic. People survive here. Ahsoka's going to be fine. Sabine's going to be fine. Hera's going to be fine. Is Balin, Shin, Morgan? Maybe one of them is up on the chopping block. Not Thrawn, obviously. And hopefully not Balin. We'll see more of him. We'll see how that happens, of course, without Ray Stevenson. But that's another conversation. We'll have to wait after this season is over. But what I'm getting at, even though a lot of those things won't be resolved now, because we have everything is setting up for that big Avengers-style movie, every season of a series, of a show, same as every movie in a trilogy, needs to stand on its own. So if this season doesn't end with some of those questions answered, then and it's just a setup for the movie or a setup for Mandalorian season 4, or a setup for Ahsoka season 2 whenever it's announced and then it comes out 3 years from now, I think it doesn't meet those limits or doesn't reach those not expectations, doesn't feel like a conclusion to the season. It doesn't stand on its own. So that's what I want this season to be able to stand on its own. Let's say that Lucasfilm goes out of business for some reason, nothing else happens, that this season stands on its own. It's not just, oh yeah, remember that Anakin showed up? Yeah, that was great. Oh, and Thrawn was back. But what happened in the season? Oh yeah, it was a setup for something that never happened. Set up season 2, set up the movie, but there has to be some resolutions to everything that we've been setting up so far, and I hope that they can land with just 1 episode left. That's my biggest concern. Apart from season 2 of The Mandalorian, season 3's finale was kind of there. Just, oh yeah, I'm doing clones as Moff Gideon, just making clones. And everyone's like, really? For 3 seasons, that's been your plan? Just 4 sensitive clones? It didn't hit that. It didn't land it like they wanted to. And I hope it doesn't happen here. So that's my thing. All right. Speculations. I saw Mr. Spaswell. You got one there. I'll go into it in a minute. I think Thrawn and the Chimera are leaving the galaxy by the end of next week. They'll get the Chimera into the Eye of Sion, like Tony was the one that mentioned it to Oti on their podcast, El Podcast de Star Wars. Make sure to check that out every time it comes out after every new episode. I think he hit the nail on the head. That's what the Eye of Sion is for. It's a hyperspace ring for the Chimera, and they'll head out. So I was thinking they're gonna leave, and then Sabine, Ezra, and the gang are gonna be stuck in Peridian, the new galaxy. The whales are gone, so they're not gonna have a way to get back, and that's gonna be the next season or the movie is gonna start with how the hell do we leave this galaxy. I had a thought earlier today would be great. It would be funny. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna happen, and the more I think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if they stuck and a way to connect, they say Mandalorian season 4 comes out afterwards, same way that she connected with Sabine, and we know that Jedi kind of can connect their thoughts to others. If she connects with Grogu in the middle of Mando season 4, episode 3, Grogu's like, wait, I hear Ahsoka. We gotta go find her. And then they grab the New Republic, and everyone goes to Peridian. Mando's there in his N1, and they find them, and then everyone goes back to the regular galaxy. But that's too far-fetched. So I'm probably thinking that Hu Yang kind of charted a map anyways when they were inside the Star Whale's mouth. They kind of charted the pathway back. So as long as they can open the hyperspace route and their hyperspace engine hasn't been damaged, they'll be able to get back. That's what I think. But we'll see what happens next week. Maybe their ship gets destroyed and they're stuck anyways. So that's my big thing. Not a big kind of out there that no one knows about it. Probably Thrawn gets out pretty easily. All right, so what's your prediction, Mr. Spaswell? Is that Sabine will sacrifice her place of getting back into the original galaxy so that Ezra can go home? That's a good one. And I think she will use the Force in a minor way to do this also. I can see that. I think that Sabine will finally be able to use the Force. We've been hinting at it since episode 1. She's tried to use it a few times. She hasn't been able to. That's why I hope that kind of Ezra has a little bit in getting her to unlock that ability. And then if she uses that to push him into the ship as they're going to hyperspace, she needs to stay back. It'll be something. It could happen. I'll see that happening. All right. The great thing is that we only have 3 days to wait for Ahsoka season 1 finale. I've really been enjoying the show. We're almost there. Like I said last week, it's difficult for me right now to try to put them into a tier list with Obi-Wan, Mando, Andor, Book of Boba Fett, all that. I don't know, but there's been a lot of good episodes. That last week episodes or 2 weeks ago was probably one of my favorites. Overall, it's been a pretty good season. I just hope they're able to knock it out of the park with the finale. All right, so that brings an end to our Ahsoka talk. And now let's talk a little bit about this little book, Crimson Climb, and let's do our Crimson Climb spoiler-free reaction. So yeah, I'm gonna start by saying thank you to Disney Books for sending this advanced copy last month, I think. Crimson Climb by E.K. Johnston. Again, this will be a spoiler-free review, or as much spoiler-free as I can. I'll try not to say anything I shouldn't say. This book comes out officially October 10th. There's no embargo. I'm glad so I can do this review today. I'm kind of surprised that there's not an actual embargo, so people can start talking about this. Our spoiler review will come out on our website most likely next Tuesday, October 3rd. So it's 1 week before the book comes out. So if you want to read the spoiler review before the book comes out, or after the book comes out, you read it and you want to hear my spoiler thoughts, go and check it out. But for right now, just spoiler free. I'm very pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed this book by E.K. Johnston. I'm a fan of Kira. I'm a fan of Solo, A Star Wars Story. I said one of my most entertaining Star Wars movies, in my opinion. I think it's great. So if you're a fan of Kira, if you're a fan of the Underworld and Syndicates, if you're a fan of Solo, I think this book is for you. It's very character-driven. Kira's in every single page of the book. So I'm surprised how much I enjoyed. I didn't know too much about when this story was going to take place. And not a spoiler because as soon as you open the book, you know where it takes place. So this takes place right when she's taken from Han in Coronet Spaceport. So when they pass the little security gate and Revolt pulls her out, this is when this book starts, and she's taken back to the White Worms, to Lady Proxima, to the Scrum Rats, to the sewers. This is that. And I'll say it's a pretty brutal description when she's taken back. Like literally the clothes are ripped from her back, from her body. Clothes, boots, coats, everything gone. So it's very visceral. E.K. Johnston did a great job getting the voice of Kira, getting the voice of all the characters that we know, like Kira, Lady Proxima, Dryden Voss. They all feel like the characters that we know. She made great making Corellia's underworld feel like a character. All the sewers in Corellia, the grime of it, you felt dirty reading those scenes. So I think E.K. Johnston did a great job setting Corellia as that putrid sewer, like Dryden Voss says. So if you know from Solo Star Wars story, the comments that when Han says, "Oh, we're gonna win this," at the end when he has his plan to kind of double cross Dryden, and Kira's like, "The point is not winning. The objective is not to win; it's to stay in it as long as possible." How did you get out? I didn't. When Dryden Voss says, "Oh, Han, she's done things that you will never be able to imagine." All that is in this book. So why does she say that the point is to stay in it as long as you can? Why this isn't a game? The things that she does, even though we can kind of see that it's going to be violent stuff, there's a lot of it. So again, she spends a lot of time with the White Worms, with Lady Proxima. Every time I read, I'm like, "Kira, why did you leave me? Where's Han?" I had that voice in my head. But it's funny because for the scrum rats, right, for the people that live on the Corellia kind of slums, the White Worms and Lady Proxima are the most badass, scariest dudes out there, this crime organization. When in reality, they're nothing compared to Crimson Dawn and the other 5 syndicates, right? And we see that as this book progresses, because she won't stay with there forever. As we know, she'll end up with Crimson Dawn at some point. If you read the Solo novelization, you know that she was sold to a slaver, and then eventually something happens and she ends up in Crimson Dawn, and we see that again when she's sold to the slaver. It's not the best life for her, but she resents Han for allowing her to feel safe and comfortable with someone instead of always being on the lookout for what's going on. She got comfortable and safe, believing Han that, okay, we're gonna make it out of here. And she's learned from that. She doesn't hate him. She keeps the dice, and the dice are really important here because it reminds herself of the life that Han might be living now, how he smiles at everything that we know from the movie. Every time I thought about you, it made me smile, and she uses that throughout the book. I forgot where I was going. How these Scrum Rats, again, she gets sold, and then when she makes it to Crimson Dawn, she's still playing the field. How's she gonna go up the ladder without showing that she's ready for it? I know it sounds kind of weird, but Kira's in a place when she's learned that she can show all her cards, right? She gets trained in how to fight, of course, Terraskasi, we know that. She's trained how to slice into computers, how to do poison testings, all this, how to scam people. And even though she might be at a level up here, she knows that if she shows that she's learning enough, people will keep trusting her, and not just trusting her, but I forgot the word. I forgot the word. I probably have it in my notes, but I can't find it. Underestimating her. So if she doesn't show that she's as good as Dryden in Terraskasi, she'll be underestimated when she's fighting the guards or when she fights Dryden in Solo. So those things she's learned how to, okay, I'm at a level now that I'm ahead of my teachers. We're going to keep it down here so they think that they're still above me. And if they try something, then I'll be able to overcome it. So she's learned this throughout the book. She goes in the book keeps going. There's a lot of missions. She's first in this planet, Thrawn, I think it's called, when she has her own team. They come back at the end. Character-wise, like I mentioned before, all the characters that we know, like Kira, Lady Proxima, Dryden Voss, Margot, which we know from the movie, she's the concierge for Dryden Voss in the movie. Here, she's not at that position. So all those characters were great. Hey, Brennan, how you doing? Thanks for being here with us, Brennan. We're just doing a spoiler-free review of Kira. If I keep going, let me see some of your comment. Mr. Spaswald, it's saying that Kira was fascinating in Solo. I would have enjoyed a series on her place in the underworld. Might give that book a read after my first ever read of Heir to the Empire. I think if you liked that, if you wanted to see what she was doing in the underworld, I know we have the Crimson Reign comic books, and of course she was part of the War of Bounty Hunter comic books, and this leads up to that. I mean, we don't see that in the book. There's a couple of interludes in here. One of them, the last one, is pretty close to that ending. So you can see a lot of that. But if you want to know what she was doing while Han was with the Imperial Navy and trying to get out, this is what she was doing, just climbing the ranks of the White Worms. When she came back, she was at the lowest low, slowly climbing back up. And then same thing, Crimson Dawn. She starts at the bottom and slowly starts moving up. And of course, people don't like how quickly she's moving, and they gotta do their moves to try to get her out of the way. Most of them don't work out. Tony's adding, I really wasn't that excited, but between the Crimson storyline in the comics and this, I can't wait to read it. Again, this is a book that I might not have checked out, but I'm glad that I did. It's a very entertaining. It's very quick. You can read it in a couple of days. Those chapters are short. They're easy to read. They're engaging. You want to know what's going on. So I'll give E.K. Johnston a lot of props on that. Where am I? So again, the rest of the book is her climb through Crimson Dawn's ranks. She's constantly fighting other members that want to be where she was. We see how brutal Dryden Voss can be. We know from the movie. Well, here he just, and like we know from a lot of gangsters out there, they'll just kill someone to make a point. And even though he knows that person he's killing is not the one responsible for whatever, he's going to do it to prove a point. Like, it doesn't matter. So find me the rat, basically, or I'll just keep killing people. Or I'll make Kira kill them, which goes to what he says in the movie. Oh, she's done things that you'll never imagine. We see the paces that she's put on through in this book. And then, of course, from Solo, we know that there's a puppet master behind all the syndicates, which is Maul. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna say how much more there is. Is there more if it's just insinuated? But there's a benefactor pulling the strings, and she's trying to figure out what's going on. There's a scene with the 5 syndicates. So we get Crimson Dawn, the Pikes, the Huts, and the other 2. I didn't write them here, but you know, all the other crimes, I want to say use some bomb, but they're not. The other 2 syndicates, they're there. So all in all, Crimson Climb, if you like Kira, if you like stories about the underworld, I would recommend it. Check it out as an easy read. Comes out October 10th. Again, thanks to Disney Books for sending us an advance copy. And our full spoiler review will be on our website, wordpress.radiorebellion.com, on Radio Rebellion podcast on Tuesday. I still gotta write it, actually. Hopefully we'll do that this evening or tomorrow. The Kira Dump Molo Malachor, I think that's a spoiler, but I would say the book doesn't get that far. So I don't know if it's happened on the comics. I don't think we've seen that in the comics. But the book doesn't get there. But yes, I would love to see it. I was expecting that this book was going to touch on it, so I'm a bit surprised that it didn't get there. Maybe we'll get a continuation somewhere. Maybe this Lando movie that comes out. We'll see that. All right, guys. So that's it for us today. Great, quick show. Little bit less than an hour, but we had fun talking about Ahsoka. Brennan, sorry I didn't get to hear your thoughts on Ahsoka. If you got a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, I would love to see your quick thoughts on this episode of Ahsoka as we're reaching the finale next week. Do you think we're ready for that finale? Are we set up for that finale next week? I'm also gonna be hopefully after, like I mentioned before, after the Ahsoka finale the following week. Hopefully, if Oti has finished Tales of Light and Life, we'll do that. Might do just an overall kind of Ahsoka season 1 recap. I will take a break because we've been going on for a few weeks now. We'll see what happens. After that, I'm gonna start reading. I was also lucky enough to get a copy of the latest High Republic book, and I can't believe I forgot the name. Don't worry. Don't tell me because I have it. Eye of Darkness. The Eye of Darkness with Mark and Rowe on the cover. That comes out in November, so I'm not going to worry about reading that till a couple of weeks from now. We'll get through Crimson Dawn. We'll talk about Tales of Light and Life here, and then we'll start doing that. Can't wait to get back into High Republic, especially starting with Tales of Light and Life, and then officially going into season 3, phase 3 of the High Republic in a couple of weeks. All right, so thank you, Tony. Thank you, Brennan. Thank you to Mo, and thank you to Mr. Spaswell for joining us today. Always great when you guys are in the chat, even if Otis not here. We always put up a good show. It's always fun talking to you guys. You guys keep me in my toes. So we'll see you guys next week. But actually, here we go. He was just writing it. All right, have a great day, Mr. Spaswell. Thanks for seeing us. Look forward to finally your opinion on it. May the force be with you. And as always, stay safe. Be safe. Wait, let me try this again. There we go. Stay safe. Be safe. And may the force be with you. See you next week.